The Southern African Music Rights Organization, or SAMRO, has now confirmed that its COO Mpho Mofikoe has been placed on precautionary suspension as of the 4th of August. And SAMRO says the suspension was, of course, in response to preliminary findings pointing to potential internal transgressions. SAMRO CEO Annabelle Lebethe joins us now to further unpack this. And of course, Annabelle, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to SA Today. So briefly give us clarity on the events that have actually led to the suspension of SAMRO COO Ms. Mpho Mofikoe.
Good evening and good afternoon, and thank you for having me. I can confirm that yes, we have placed Ms. Mofikoe on precautionary suspension, but also being very mindful of the fact that this is an internal disciplinary process. The suspension or the precautionary suspension itself was, as you correctly indicated, based on evidence that came to light for us to take this particular action. I know that the speculation or the public narrative is that this was a retaliatory measure in response to the work that had been done regarding the forensic audit. And I'd just like to confirm that that was not the case and the two are unrelated.
So I understand this could be a sensitive issue, all right, Annabelle, but maybe talk to us about those preliminary internal findings. What can you share with us in that regard? What did you find against Ms. Mofikoe?
I think it would be irregular or improper for me to go into detail about that because those particular findings themselves will need to be tested. So the process has to run its course, so I think I would not want to go into detail on a public platform about a process that is still underway. And it would not be fair, I think equally so, to Ms. Mofikoe to deliberate those in a public way. So I'd hold back from going into details around what those specific issues are. Suffice to say that they were grave enough for this action to have been taken or necessitated this particular action to be taken.
No, absolutely understood there, Annabelle. So her allegations where she stated that this was in fact, as you earlier on put it, retaliatory action as she exposed widespread mismanagement and fraud within the entity. Are you confirming these to not have any substance at all? I mean, these pertaining to common issues within the music industry where we often do hear of artists complain about their royalties.
Yeah, I think it's important maybe just to paint a picture in this way that Ms. Mofikoe had been working together with the members of the organization regarding a fraud investigation that had been commissioned by the board. There was a forensic audit that was initiated by the board sort of 2022, 2023 as a result of what was alleged to have been irregular claims for what we term in the industry, or at SAMRO specifically, undocumented works. So we sit with a pot of money that belongs to rights holders and we want to pay out to rights holders, but for various reasons we might not have specific details as to who those rights holders are. So the organization and members of staff had picked up that there were claims. So what would happen is that a member would go into this schedule, let me call it that, or register of works, and identify works that they believe belongs to them. And on the basis of that claim, SAMRO would then pay out. But it did transpire that some of those works, or some of those claims specifically, were for works that did not belong to the claimants. And that in itself then catalyzed the forensic process, where the board, rightly so, took a decision to stop the claims process and also to initiate and institute a forensic audit, which we reported back to members at the AGM in 2023, and have subsequently kept members abreast of where we are with the implementation of the recommendations of that report.
All right, so this has absolutely nothing to do with the Fundudzi forensic investigation.
Indeed.
All right. And then, Annabelle, going forward, what's the next process since Ms. Mofikoe's suspension or precautionary suspension in terms of your internal procedural steps?
So obviously from a internal disciplinary process, we would need to investigate. And the reason for the precautionary suspension, as we explained to Ms. Mofikoe, is to allow that independent investigative process to run its course, where it may or may not determine that there are charges that Ms. Mofikoe has to answer for, but that will be concluded once the investigation is done. I do also want to indicate that that process in itself, I think, has to be respected, in that we have to respect the rights of every staff member in the organization in the manner in which those processes run and are treated. I think with the greatest degree of respect to the process and the individuals, but also with a great degree of compliance with what the requirements of our policies and processes are.
And Annabelle, while this process, of course, is unfolding, does it in any way affect the operations of SAMRO, including, of course, the reimbursement of artists' claims?
No, not at all. I think it's important to note that we are all, as individuals, not bigger than the organization, and organizations will have to find a way to operate. And so there is no impact on operations, and we continue to operate in a way that serves the interests of our members and ensures that we are delivering on the mandate and the responsibilities that have been assigned to us as an organization. So we have to carry on with the work carries on.
Annabelle, we really appreciate your time as well as clarity on SA today this afternoon. That was Ms. Annabelle Lebethe, the SAMRO CEO, on the precautionary suspension of its COO, Ms. Mpho Mofikoe.